Welcome. I was going to entitle this video How to Break Free from the Matrix, but on reflection I'm kind of thinking more along the lines of how to flow with the breakdown of the Matrix, because that's kind of what's happening right now. We're seeing a great upheaval in the world since the COVID-19 outbreak, and which really basically stopped everything, stopped the system. So I'm going to use an analogy that I sort of came up with last week, and it's a bit like a factory, this factory, and you've got this factory working every day. People go in, do what they're supposed to do, and pack, each stage of production. These boxes are moving along the production line, and something else is being done, and then at the end there's this system where the boxes get turned out and delivered to where they're meant to go, and it's just this kind of like one-way operating system that was very smooth in its production and getting things out. But in a way, it's like the whole system, the whole matrix, if you like, has been like that, where people were going along, every day doing what they're supposed to do, and then at the end of the day they get a wage packet and pay their bills and all the rest. And so there was this kind of order in a sense, but it was also a kind of a prison at the same time. So what we're seeing is the breakdown of that system. So it's a bit like, somebody halted, the machine got switched off, and all of a sudden all the boxes piled up in the factory, and what you see is complete chaos. And this is a bit like the subconscious mind. So if I can articulate this the way I want to. So it's a bit like, consciousness is perceiving everything kind of like going along like this, and the world is like the manifestation of consciousness, and then something changes or shifts in consciousness, and then this kind of disturbs the layers beneath, the subconscious layers. So there's chaos, things get stirred up a little bit. So it feels a little bit like that. And when this stuff comes up, it's really for healing and transformation. It can't stay buried. So in every era of our times, there has been chaos, and throughout all big shifts in humanity's consciousness, and wherever there's been a change in the way the system sort of works, or elements or parts or aspects of the system that needed looked at. So on a personal level, if you're on the conscious path, which you probably will be if you're watching this, it's about kind of removing the layers of subconscious programming that hold us back from being our fullest potential, from being our truest expression in this world. So on a personal level, things come into our lives that cause these shifts or changes, and then there can be this upheaval or chaos. But we always get through it, we shift, we move through it and find the solutions or the way through. The only way out is through. So basically, through these times of changes, we just have to move through it. There's no other way. Now, while we're going through these changes, we can go through them screaming and shouting, no, I don't want to go. But there's another way, which is to actually flow with the change, to flow with the moving through the change. In other words, not resisting the change. And even when it seems all chaotic and upheaval and messy, there's a tendency to resist that and complain and react, because generally speaking, the ego doesn't like change. It's like, because it forces it to change, to grow up, to shift with that change. So what's happening just now is a shift in consciousness, and the only way to break free of the matrix, or what was the matrix, which was this kind of conformity, this system of conformity, to become truly free, is, I forgot my line of thought. Yeah, is to really shift the consciousness to more freedom-based rather than victim-based. So we're moving from a victim-based mentality into more freedom-based, more empowerment. The realization that no system, no government, no authority can control us. We're already free, but the old way was that we believed that we weren't free. But you're always free. You're always already free. So this is the shift. And what happens is that, so these tower moments come in, like we have the tower moments in the tarot deck. So it's like the tower moments come in to cause this shift, and it brings up these old wounds for healing, these subconscious layers, and that's what we see. It's like, this whole thing that's going on just now with the people taking the statues of the slave masters and things. So it's like things that happened, a long time ago are like coming up to be healed and looked at again, readdressed. A kind of closure, in a sense, a historical closure is happening. But slavery itself, human slavery, has been going on for hundreds of years anyway. It didn't just end with the abolition of, black slaves, the black people. It's slavery of all kinds, slavery of white people, all kinds of people, animal slavery even, which is a huge one that doesn't really get looked at a lot of the time. So the slavery, the general human slavery in general, is what we're witnessing, the ending of. People don't want to be enslaved. And in a sense, I guess this COVID thing is like maybe been triggering those feelings of, enslavement, because it's like we have to live by certain rules. You can't go out, you can't do this, you can't do that. So everyone's been feeling that sort of level of confinement and enslavement. And as I say, it doesn't matter what race you are. We're all humans at the end of the day on this planet, for the most part. So nobody wants enslavement. So that's why it's like these old wounds of slavery, enslavement are coming up. And that is also even looking at the way that we lived or worked, the old system. The rat race, what's considered the rat race, was this slavery, was this routine. We were in a routine, and anytime the routine gets shaken, it can shaken the ego, and this is what's kind of happening. It's like this out of control. It's like this feelings of being out of control, and the ego doesn't like that. Even if it's in a prison, it would rather have the prison as long as it's in control, and everything works like this. But now it's like, oh, wait a minute, there is this chance for freedom. There is this chance to create something new here. We don't have to go back to the old ways. And so, this is this is what's happening now, is this transformation of shifting from the old paradigm into a completely new paradigm where we will experience more freedom, or where we're endeavoring to experience more freedom, and realize that, no system can control us. So people are waking up to this and realizing that the governments and, the work system that they were plugged into, has no control over them anymore. So for a little while there is going to be this chaos, and it can come out in so many different forms, and we're going to witness the chaos for a little while, in different forms is going to come up. But the thing to remember is that we are actually making progress. Even if it doesn't seem like that, we are actually making progress. So the thing is to flow with the shift as much as you can, and not let it overwhelm you. And realize that the manifestations are just manifestations of the chaos, the feelings of being out of control, while we're going through the shift. So that's kind of just really what I wanted to share, was just this, all adversity, all challenges leading to progress and change. So just have faith, that everything's unfolding as it's meant to, really, in that sense. And that on a personal level, if we're not in the midst of it, and many people are in the midst of it in different countries and whatever, that we can't control what's happening over here somewhere else, although we're witnessing it. But what we're witnessing again is on a collective level, these unconscious levels, these unconscious woundings coming up to the surface. So it seems like the past is repeating itself in a sense, or the past is showing up again, but it's just because it wasn't fully addressed or fully healed. So that's what's happening. I mean, again, this is just my personal interpretation of it. So take what resonates from this video and leave the rest. But I feel like part of my role is just to share different perspectives, different ways of looking at things, so that you don't feel overwhelmed, and that you can move through the changes as joyful as you can, because you're already free. You are already free, and that just this external chaos is going to be going on for a little while, and not to get too swept up in it, not to get too overwhelmed. And it's so easy to, with all the news reports, or as soon as you go on Facebook for like 5 minutes or more, and just remember that your peace is really important. Your peace is what's going to change the world as well. So, many of us are like, being called just to hold our center. So it's like holding our center, staying as grounded as we can while all these changes are going on. And I think I've got videos on tips for that as well. So I feel to complete this video now and just send you lots of love and light, and just stay steady, stay strong, stay in love. That's all we can really do. If there's situations outside of our control, but the one thing that we do have sovereignty over is our own being, our own state of being, our own self, our own connection to our divine beingness. So stay aligned with that as much as you can. Stay centered. Lots of love. Bye for now.